It's like the name I am.
All right, we're good?
Very New York. Like,
All right, good evening. I will call to order the Township of Hampton Council agenda meeting for Wednesday, February 12th. And we'll start with the
a lot
pledge.
of plastic in there.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Blackburn?
Present.
Ms. Fritsch?
Present.
Mr. Midgley? Mr. Shuley?
Present.
Dr. Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Speakman?
Present.
Mr. Midgley is excused this evening. And as you all may have noticed, Bethany is remote, so please make sure you speak into the microphone so that she can hear us. And with that, let's kick off administration.
Yeah, I'm seeking authorization to advertise the strategic planning meeting for this year on March 28th, Friday, March 28th, 2025. Still finalizing a location, hoping to go back to Mr. Tusseri can pull off the Montour Heights Country Club again. So, but we all agreed on that date. It is firm. It was settled quickly. I was happy. So.
Any questions?
Okay.
All right, next item, please.
Yeah, so, Amanda, can you pull up the pictures of this property? The property at 4336 Route 8, I'm sure it's one that residents and probably everyone sitting around these desks and this dais are aware of. If you make any trips off of Route 8 onto McCully Road, you'll see it. The property is, while it has a Route 8 address, it is technically, it is actually, if you look at it, it's on McCully Road. It's right by the on-off ramp from McCully to Route 8. The property's roughly 1.5 acres, and it has 2 homes on it. That's a picture of one of the homes, and then there's another home a little in the background that you can kind of see. It's a white home up to the right. There's another picture of that one. To give you a little history on it, the property was purchased at sheriff's sale by the current owner in March of last year for $31,000. It's located along a tributary of Pine Creek, and the lower home specifically is in the floodplain, which when the owner was trying to do some renovations there, it just made the process very difficult to comply with the floodplain rules. On top of all of that, the lower home caught fire last year, leaving it in its present condition that you could see from the pictures, and pretty much anyone driving along McCully or off of Route 8 can see. Amanda and her staff have been working with the owner on repairs, and when he visited the office recently, myself, Amanda, and Albert Cohen met with him to talk about the township acquiring the property. He's offered to sell it to us for $31,000 with the contingency that he demolishes both of the homes on this property by the end of June of this year. The property, since it's located along a creek, we could do a potential future stormwater management or creek stabilization project here. I think this purchase would be in the best interest of the township. I generally don't comment on aesthetics, but the reality is the homes in this area have been in poor shape for some time. It's one of the major gateways to our community. And I've got to be honest, I really don't want anyone ever living in that lower house again and having to deal with a flood. It's flooded several times already. So I happen to think this is it's a pretty good deal, and it's in the best interest of the township that we acquire this property.
And it's within the budget?
In the Stormwater Capital Fund, yes.
Yes.
Any? Go ahead.
The lower house burned.
Yeah,
Fire.
it wasn't specified as a line item, but there's certainly room in the budget to be able to manage that within the other projects that are within.
The lower property burned down. Is that upper property inhabitable, or is anybody living in it?
No, it's been vacant for some time. It's not accessible, and I don't believe there are any utilities connected to it at this time. But it has been in the past, I think, something that the police have dealt with people going in there and partying. and things
Squatters,
like that.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Does the township have right of first refusal at this point?
He's only offered it to us.
Okay.
He's not looking to sell, and but at this point, he's only offered it to us, and he seems very happy with this deal. I know, Amanda, you've dealt with him pretty regularly over the past year. I think he just wants to be rid of this property. That would be my guess.
Yeah, he purchased it at sheriff's sale, and I don't think that he realized, well, according to him, he didn't realize that it was within a floodplain. So, he had filed for a renovations permit, and because the value of the home is so low and the renovations that he was doing was gonna exceed 50% of the value of the house, when you do that, even if you're not building something new, that kicks in the FEMA regulations. So he was looking at having to comply with pretty much the whole kit and caboodle for the FEMA regulations. So I think that was kind of, he was already feeling that when I met with him before the fire, that this was more than he had, I think, anticipated.
I'm just doing the math in my head, just, June's a way out. I think everything makes sense.
Yeah,
He probably got a check or something, settlement, because the other one burnt down. And now it's just, even if he would sell it before June and not demolish them, the next person's gonna have the exact same issues.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to, the reason June, just wanted to give him enough
Yeah, no,
time,
it's-
to demolish the homes.
Yeah.
So, he's already applied it, I know he got the application, I don't know if he submitted it yet for
I
the
did not
demolition.
believe he submitted it
Okay.
yet.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, item C, please.
Okay, and this is going to be one of many agreements on the agenda that require the quickest possible explanation I can give, but they may not necessarily be short. Last month, the school district approached the township about the problem of snow removal in its parking lots. They previously had a truck that plowed and salted, but it had broken down, and the cost of contracting out was pretty substantial per event. In talks with Susan in the Public Works Department, they initially had approached us about doing it. We're not in a position to take on plowing and salting of the school district's parking lots. That would just not work within our operations. But we had a 2020 International dump truck that we had intended to sell this year via municipal. And after discussing it further, we decided to offer it to the school district for $40,000. That's slightly below sort of the market value, but it keeps the truck in the community and servicing the community, and I think that's a very good thing. The solicitor and the auditor for the school district had an issue with just sort of the district just buying it from us directly. And after talks with the superintendent, we already have an agreement in place. We've always had a handshake agreement that they can buy salt from us, from our storage. So we decided to use that as the basis for a winter weather intergovernmental cooperation agreement. The agreement essentially establishes sort of like a cooperative purchasing program between the township and the school district. It codifies our current arrangement on salt and then allows them to, in the future, purchase equipment or vehicles from the township. The agreement, putting this agreement in place basically puts the school district at ease and would allow the sale of the truck to continue, which is something I would recommend. So, Susan, did I leave anything out there? Feel free to, yeah.
You did.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, I did have a question about this. At one point in the third paragraph talks about including but not limited to road salt, fuel, and snow clearing vehicles.
Yeah.
And then 2.1 and 2.2 talk about the salt and the vehicles. There's never another mention of fuel again. So I'm just,
The whereas includes fuel. I can take that out. And so, they do buy fuel from us right now, but I just wanted to
okay.
keep this, yeah. I think we talked about incorporating that into the agreement, but we just left it in one of the whereases and not in the actual text of the agreement. I can take that out.
okay. Anyone else have any questions about this? Dan, you look like you have a question.
I pay taxes to the school, so I don't want to ask. Do they get a discount on fuel from us?
Discount?
First of all, we
They-
all pay
they pay
taxes to
costs.
school. It's a fair question.
They pay our cost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then, so that the truck, if we would sell it, it's probably an auction, so we don't really know, but how far below the market value are we selling it to them, and why would we do that?
It's 55 probably if we put it at market, maybe 50, 55, somewhere in there.
We got a quote from Schultz Ford.
Yeah.
It is an international, but we went for them to see what it would be. They had mentioned it was about 40,000, but that didn't include the plow and the hopper. So
Yeah, 50.
decent discount.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is a really good question. Why are we giving them such a discount?
Well, and I would point out, they did pick up the rest of the cost of the SRO last year. So, you know, in totality of recognizing sort of, you know, the operational costs they've annually taken on, which far exceed $10,000, you know.
The SRO that they
The school resource officer.
utilize
Yes.
on a daily and regular basis.
I don't question the merit of making them do that, but, you know, just, again, purely from a financial perspective. And again, it's all money from the same community, and it keeps the vehicle, if we could sell it, we could make more money, I don't question that, but then it's outside the community, this keeps it in the community.
And it was an order hopper,
yeah.
and it was an extra one, so it
Yeah.
wasn't like
Does the school district appreciate the value that they are getting and understand it?
Thank you.
Yeah, Dan Hartle, I think in your dealings with Dan
Yes.
Hartle, he's been very appreciative,
Yes,
right?
personally.
Okay,
He is very
yeah,
appreciative.
yeah.
So the money they're saving, are they gonna put towards a softball field? Just throwing that
You
out
mean
there.
meadow fields?
Or meadow, you know, we're not picky as to what kind of field we get.
Or-
Uh-huh.
All right.
I will keep this one in my back pocket, how does that
Okay.
sound?
Very good, very
Yeah.
good.
Does their tennis team like the new resurfacing of the tennis courts?
They do.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions about item C? All right, we will move on to item D then.
Recognize J.R. Young.
Good evening. Oh, you're all on fire tonight.
Well, you haven't
Oh, I'm
started
scared.
yet.
Yeah. Well, your project here saves $10,000, so there you go.
10, I think
Yeah.
it's 20, isn't it?
Okay, there you go.
Yes, this is for to request to release the capital funding of $130,000 for the municipal renovation of Phase 2. We did Phase 1 last year, so this is for this area and out front to make everything kind of match. Flooring, painting, furniture, and pretty much all the same contractors are being used. Corbett for furniture, Shaw for the flooring, but that's a direct purchase. We are doing the 2 restrooms, the ladies and the men's restrooms as well. So there'll be all new fixtures, all new partitions. The men's restroom, we are making that ADA as much as we can with that. It's very close right now, but with the current partitions, it's not really in line with it. So the newer ones will have more of access and egress with it. So that's coming from Equiparts. And then construction-wise, we're really doing the same thing. Painting, flooring install, removal of the furniture out front for the receptionist. And signage is included, so signage in this room and out front will also be included with all that. New design, actually from Takeform that we've used for the wayfinding signage, they'll be involved in this as well. Not a solid quote from them yet, but it's not anything like the wayfinding signage with that. So it was budgeted for $150,000 for the capital. From my spreadsheet that I have together right now with the hard cost of construction, with a 10% contingency, we're at $44,660, and then the soft cost, which is all the furniture, restroom fixtures, signage, flooring, similar or same window treatments that we did on Phase 1. Some electrical additions that we will most likely have to do out front, nothing major that I've spoke to Amanda with this before, that we'd have to pull an electrical permit on it. It's just moving them because the front desk kind of lines up with that. So with a 5% contingency, that's at $80,535. So the total comes down to $125,415. So we're just requesting a $130. We shouldn't go over that whatsoever. We have a contingency, total contingency of $7,895. So I definitely, just like Phase 1, we're under on that. I predict that we'll be under on this one too. I do have, I'm sorry, thank you for bringing that up. So if you just scroll down, this is the latest rendering of the furniture that will be out front. We kind of went back and forth a little bit, but the final one, which is, basically it's the top. So there'll be a 80 or a 48-inch top, all the way till you see the bump out, that'll be ADA. But that'll be 48-inch around with a top on front. It just kind of makes it a little bit better, like aesthetically pleasing. We were going back and forth on a 42-inch with no top. I think at one point there was a 32. So it was, yeah, we kind of going back and forth. So this new rendering I got late on Friday. So I just wanted to share that. That's the final rendering of what the furniture is going to look out front. Questions?
It's really nice.
Thank you, thank you.
Are we doing the ceiling in here? And the only reason I'm asking is because all the like new cameras and stuff, we're not touching any of the AV equipment, or are we?
No, well, ceiling tiles will be replaced
Oh,
as
okay.
needed. These ones are fairly newer, but like a scratch right there. The return grates will be painted or just replaced new. The ceiling grid will be painted, kind of like what we did in permitting. Just goes over it with a DTM paint. Just brightens it up. The lighting's already LED, so that's one thing. Speaking of ceilings, the only non-LED lighting in this building currently is out front. They're still T12s, so they'll be converted to LEDs. I think the restroom fixtures, well, I think there's some LED, some not, but this will complete this building of all LED lighting. And again, yeah, ceiling tile where needed. I think the hallway, that'll be all new. But yeah, that's included as well. Floor to ceiling.
Oh, okay.
Anything else?
All right, anyone else have any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chair. Anything else for administration?
No, not at this time.
All right, public safety, please.
Okay, as we do every year, I have before council the list of officers from the fire department to be sworn in as department, fire police, and Susan will do that swearing in. I would just ask council to approve this list so that she can proceed with the oath of office for each of these people on the list.
All right, any questions? I keep looking over for Alfie, and he's not here. All right, next item then, please.
Okay. Next item is I'm requesting a capital expenditure for the purchase of new tasers for the department. Each officer has their own taser assigned to them, as they do with a firearm. Recently, in spring of last year, all the tasers, not all the tasers, but most of them started to malfunction. We lost 5 within a month. They were sent back to Taser. They are outdated. They cannot be repaired, so therefore we have to replace all the tasers, because currently right now we only have 6 that are in operation, and they're being shared between the officers. And if they go down, they can't be repaired. So I'm asking for a capital expenditure request. Total amount is $98,429, but that will be spaced out over a 5-year installment plan for $19,685 for this year and for the next 4 after that.
Anyone have any questions?
Is that like an interest-free loan they're providing, the manufacturer or supplier?
Well, they might have built the interest in it somewhere behind there, but
I
yeah,
understand.
that's what they're doing.
And that's sufficient for, you'll get the.
Each
all the
officer
ones you
will
need.
get their own taser, and we will have one extra one in case something goes down and has to be shipped out to be repaired. And that
How-
includes the holsters, some of the firing cartridges.
How
So
quickly?
what is the cost per taser? Like,
Cost per
seems-
taser?
yeah, like you said it's it's $98,000.
Well, if you divide that
For-
by 22,
Okay, all
that
right,
would give you your
It
number.
was in there somewhere.
So,
okay.
and we also have to pay for the recertification of the Taser 10s, which Sergeant Haas and Detective Adams will be doing, since they are our firearms instructors. So that's included in that cost.
How quickly will you be able to get in the new tasers, since it sounds like we're in danger of the others going down as well?
We had already spoken to Taser and have the units ready to go once council approves it, and we should be able to get them within the next few weeks. It's not like ordering a township road truck or a fire department truck. So,
Not a 2-year lead time for a taser. Good to know.
yeah.
Any other questions? All right, next item then, please.
Okay, the next item is for another capital expenditure request. It is for a radar speed trailer that also it has a messaging board on it. I had some discussion with Susan the earlier part of the year, so it can do double duty. We could put this radar trailer out and it would function the same way that you see our signs on telephone poles attached where it'll monitor speed. It'll collect data for us, and it'll serve as a notice for people when they're over the speed limit. It can also pull the second duty of being able to be a message board. We can use that for road closure for flooding. We can use it at a crash scene. We can use it on the 3rd of July. The road department can use it for multiple things when they're closing roads and, workers that have that kind of thing. And we would get training for one person in the road department or 2 people in the road department and 2 officers to be able to deploy this when needed. And that cost would be $19,436 for the total package. And we purchased that from All Traffic Solutions, which is a company we have used before. I did enclose the packet of information. You can see the design of the trailer and what it can do.
And that comes with the trailer, or is it just the sign?
No, it's the trailer with
It's
the
the whole
sign.
thing?
It's the whole thing.
Hook it up to a hitch and.
Pull it right out to where it needs
Oh,
to go.
okay.
Yeah.
We already have one, right?
The trailer that we have that's in the garage right now, that's that beast that we got back in the early 1990s. And quite honestly, if anything ever happens to it, we wouldn't replace it. So. And then we have the 2 radar speed signs that we bought 2 years ago now.
Is there one sitting up by the school, the middle school? Is that?
That big one sitting up by the middle school is the one that was bought in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That one does not have the ability, it did way back when the technology was new, but it doesn't have the ability to clock speed and give us a report on the times and the speeds and everything else.
Will you keep using that unit, or is this intended to replace that unit?
So I had some discussions about it with Sergeant Gaylor, who's in charge of traffic, and Susan, and for what we would get on municipal, we would be better off just trying to throw it out there when we can, and
Okay.
as soon as it's done, it's just done, and you're gonna get the cost of the metal out of it. That's about it,
Okay.
yeah. But we will use it for as long as it'll put up a speed sign.
Any other questions? All right, next item, please.
Okay, next item is for the
This
replacement
has
of.
been capital money night.
Apparently.
Next item is a capital expenditure request for the replacement of several ballistic vests. The vests expire every 5 years. We have a list of officers whose vests have expired, and they need to be replaced. They actually expired in February. Well, we're in February, so they expire this
Still
month.
February.
So, and that cost would be $19,875. However, we have applied to the BVP program, which we do every time this rolls around. And the BVP program, if awarded, which we should find out sometime in April, and we've always gotten it, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't, we would recover about $400 per vest.
Okay.
After the cost of the vest is.
How many vests was that?
It's a
15.
Oh, 15.
Yeah, 15. We're on, even though we have, 21, well, we should have 21 officers. We have 19 officers right now. Well, 20 if you count a part-timer. They're on a different cycle. So every 5 years when it expires, I think there's 6 or 7 that are on a different cycle.
Yeah, we just approved purchasing some of these vests within the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Last year, we bought, I
Yeah.
believe, 5.
It was either last year or the year before. So,
What's BVP?
Bulletproof Vest Program. So,
That's state.
what's that?
What kind is that, a state
It's
organization?
a federal.
Federal?
Federal funds that go out, And it's been around for I can't tell you how many years. So vests keep going up, and they only want to still do $400 per vest, but it's something.
Just out of curiosity, the social workers also wear vests when they go out in the field. Are they included in these 21, or is that another?
So when we submit for reimbursement, we have to list the officer's name, the serial number, the vest. So it is only for police officers.
Okay.
I can't get it through, for the social workers.
But we will need to replace the social workers' vests sometime within the next few years also.
Well, within the next few years.
Okay.
So, but we also go with a lesser caliber, lighter weight for the vest. So, and they're not worn the way the officers wear their vests.
Okay.
So.
Any other questions? All right, next item then, please.
I'll take this one.
All right.
I think everyone's aware of the success of the police social worker program. One thing that has been that they've encountered over the years is because they're out there and they're visible and we're always having them before council, they get a lot of requests to make donations to help their clients. Up until this time, they've had to refuse any donations. The township is not in a position to take donations, and we're certainly not in a position to administer donations to clients of social workers. That's just not something we're capable of. In talking with Angela Kembach and Chief Valakovich and our auditors and Rob Omasini as well, we kind of concluded that funneling donations to a community-based nonprofit organization who could properly administer them to those who are directly in need of the clients, the social workers, would be the best way to go. Luckily for us, North Hills Community Outreach is located in Hampton. In meeting with the staff at North Hills Community Outreach, they noted they've actually established similar dedicated accounts for whether it was initiatives or projects or disaster responses, and they said they would be willing to do the same for the police social worker program. The agreement before you this month, it establishes the framework for that account with NHCO and how it would be administered. The township had very minimal involvement other than the police social workers directing donations and their clients to NHCO. This program, the donations that go there would not fund the operations of the social worker program or salaries or anything like that. That is the responsibility of the township. The agreement's been reviewed by legal counsel. Thanks, Charlie, very much. She put in a lot of effort on this one, as well as our auditor. NHCO has had it. They don't have any comments that I'm aware of. This is somewhat unique. I will say I've never worked on an agreement such as this between a township and a nonprofit, but I think it's an opportunity. There's clearly a desire in the community to help the people who are in this community who are served by our police social workers. I think that this fills that need. So I don't know if anyone has any questions specifically on it.
Well, I really like the way you set it up and made it practical and easy and supports the citizens. I think it's a really nice arrangement.
And it being, since NHCO is a 501c3 nonprofit, obviously the donations then become tax deductible for those making them, which is another benefit that we really just are not in a position to offer at the township.
It's very heartening to hear that there are so many people who want to donate to help with the program and to help the people who are benefiting from the program. So it's wonderful.
So does that mean that like when you give to NHCO, you just designate it for whatever the fund's name is, whatever that ends up being?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there a name for the fund yet, or is that still also kind of in the works?
I think it's Hampton Police Social Worker Account is the
Okay.
name. If they come up with something better, I am certainly willing to accept that. So yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, Chief, anything else for public safety?
No, I think I've spent enough money for this evening.
Well,
You say that.
well, looking at the next section, I think we still have a lot that we're going to be spending. So with that, community services, please.
Yeah,
chief.
If it's acceptable, I'd like to do A and C together and B and D.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so A and C, it's a capital funds request for both. The first one is for lifeguard chairs. It's for the replacement parts of the chairs. It's parts, metal parts, and plastic for the lifeguard chairs. So with that said, Public Works Department will be doing the labor to replace the plastic parts on the chairs in the spring when they go to open up the pool. That quote is for $23,503.20, and that is for B&R Pools. They would supply us all the parts. And then the second is a request for, again, for the pool repairs, is for HVAC replacement. This will be for the 2 unit heaters in the restrooms of the pool complex. They're the highest priority and the most problems in the last couple years. So with that said, we would also implement a building automation system within the pool area. It would start with the restrooms of temperature sensors on those Resner heaters, those unit heaters in the restrooms. And what that'll do, it'll allow us to look at them and make sure during the winter that the restrooms are being heated properly. Currently, the way to kind of notice that they are doing their jobs and working, you look at the roof on a frosty or snowy day, and it'll show that it's melting. So that'll change that. With that, it will also incorporate the lifeguard area, which is another unit that's in that same area, so they'll have automation onto that too. That's only used for cooling, but that'll allow us to adjust the temperatures and put a program on it so they're not cooling 65 degrees during the night. And then future-wise, we would, as you see with the proposal from OZ, so Huckenstein would do the unit replacement heaters in the restrooms, and then OZ, which is our current building automation system, the police station is the most recent that they did. Community Center has it, and that's all on that front end. In the future, we would do another HVAC upgrade, which would be like the walk-in coolers that would probably need replaced. It's going to be on a capital plan here this year. They would have sensors on those too, just in case they would fail, and give us a warning. Last year, for example, the freezer failed. They didn't really lose any food, but they caught it in enough time. I think the ice cream might have melted. But that would have that, and then there's another unit, part of the concession stand, that does heat and cooling. So that would be part of automation too. So that cost for that, let's see, is a total of $25,271.04. So our total for this capital budget would be $48,774.24, which is what we're looking to have approved under the $50,000 that we have budgeted.
Just want to note that the totals for the HVAC part of it between the 2 memos differ. So if you look at the one for talking about the pool chair replacements, it says that the remainder of the funds from the swimming pool upgrades capital project will be allocated to additional pool complex repairs, including the HVAC units, and that's $26,496. Is there another project in there that we're not talking about yet?
No.
Because then this one is $25,271.
What Melanie meant by that was the remaining funds,
Remaining.
like what she meant was what was available after
Okay.
that. That was what she meant, so,
Okay.
yes.
Right. Any other questions? All right.
That's 2 under budget.
Yeah.
Keep up this trend,
The
please.
next one's really under budget, actually.
Okay, this
So
is
that was A and C, so now B and D.
Yeah,
for B and D, correct. This
And
is,
JR is gonna go through these projects, then we're gonna, I'll talk about the financing of them, but go
Okay.
ahead, JR.
Okay, this is for Storybook Trail project and the wayfinding in the park. So the Storybook Trail project is for 20 storybook panels, printed backing, and to placed inside the along a Martha Hunkle Playground Trail. That is coming from Pannier Graphics, which is a CoStar vendor, and installed by Diltz, which they are CoStars and they're trades for us. Yes, the trail will be close proximity of Martha Hunkle Playground. I also believe some of the trail needs to be extended. If that was she didn't have it in here, but I thought it did. I wasn't sure, but I'll have to confirm that. I didn't know. I don't know if there's a cost associated with the trail gravel, if that needed to be incorporated, and it's not. And I caught this evening on it, so. But I will have that answer for next meeting if there is a cost associated with that. So that cost is a total of $13,945.
So that's just in the playground area, not the whole community trail.
Correct. Just along that portion of where that playground is, yes. And there's 20 of them. They get spaced out 7 feet apart along that trail.
And the panels can be changed with the season, so you put in a bunch of different stories.
The next portion to this is the wayfinding signage. The request on this is not to exceed $87,000. So the cost for the signage is $83,145.02, with a contingency of $3,885, roughly 5%. That contingency is really just for locations throughout the park if something were to get hit or something happens. I don't see it being much than that with working with Public Works and their background of what utilities and stuff are where these signs are being located. They have also reviewed these renderings as well. So just a little background on what you're seeing right now, which is the final plan for this, the wayfinding through the park. There was an on-site visit unaccompanied by Takeform. So they came in just with Google Maps and our map that's online. So they did it from like a third party that never been here before. Placed these signs. There was 3 plans that they came up with during this process. This is the final plan after myself, Melanie, Ryan, and Susan sat down and looked at all these and came up with a final with it. The lettering, blue background. The lettering will be white reflective for nighttime. Lead time on this project, because that come up in our meeting yesterday through the direct reports to Ryan and Susan. So it's a 6-week lead time at best. 8 weeks would be the planning. Install 7 to 10 days. They said maybe plan for like 14, pending weather. So our best case scenario to have these installed with approval at the end of February. Excuse me.
End of February?
And approval at the end of February.
Oh, okay.
With a PO to them in March would be mid-April, but we probably should look at like an end of April, early May. So that being said, this could happen before the July 3rd event. So
That would be nice.
So if just going through, I know these are in your documents too, or your packet. So all these renderings are all the signs, and the locations are consistent with the map that's at the end on how they drew it. I do have notes on there that the 2 stop signs would not be done just because of the location of where they are at. We just thought that could be something that's done at a in-house or at a later time. We really didn't think it was needed at this time, so those will be eliminated, which reflects the cost on that too, on the total cost of what Takeform has. And then, of course, they're engineering on depth of holes and the signs being placed, and they will have a certified installer on their behalf install these signs. So that total cost is 87,000. So the total between the two projects is 100,945 to the dollar.
So the budget, the capital improvement program had for both of these projects $70,000. We knew we were going to have some money from the Hampton Community Association when it went defunct. I can tell you, we probably have at least $50,000 for completing these two projects, which would mean the total amount of funds available for it is $120,000. So that's just to give you some idea of, where we're at with this and getting it done. The end result would be the township would pay out whatever the cost is of the two projects, and whatever's remaining in that HCA fund would come back to the township as a transfer, and we would have to do a budget amendment later this year. But that is, both of these projects can be done well within the amount of money we have available.
Any questions? You're agreeing with the,
Yes.
all right, wonderful, thank you. Any questions?
Wayfinding signs, beautiful, love it, overdue. I think a lot of people are always asking and confused, so I think it's great. What are they made of? Is it wood? Is it,
It'll be metal.
they're metal signs?
Yeah, there'll be metal panels. There was options that we looked at first is doing similar to North Park where each panel will be separate, but the wording and the amount of what we have in the park, we would have had to add, I think, 5 or 6 more signs. So to limit that and get that visualization, not to get people lost, was, go to a 1-panel metal sign, reflective tape, or reflective lettering, and that should suffice. And that was also incorporated too because they knew that we did the pavilion signs that are currently out there. So that kind of reflected both of them, so you didn't have to name each pavilion out and which direction. So they did that one too.
The stop signs, you said they're out, they're not in the cost, or they are in the
So
cost? And
there's
there's
the two stop signs that they recommended are right at the community center.
were they additional to what we have now? Like they were saying you should have a stop sign here.
Yes, there's stop blocks on the asphalt, but there's no sign. It's kind of difficult to put a sign there. I'm talking to Susan and Public Works and Greg and Richie about it too. There's sidewalks there, and of course we're doing a sidewalk and concrete project. So we felt like right now that's not the time to put these in. So they would be going like into the curbs or off the side of the curb. So it was kind of,
Makes sense.
yeah. I mean it's narrow enough that people do slow down, but if you kind of watch sometimes, people just right through. I mean, so I can understand why they recommended it, but it's a tough scenario right there right now. Maybe it's something that's added in later. They were going to use their pole, their type of stop sign. We think it's better off to use what Public Works puts out on the roads now, and what's within the park.
All right, any other questions?
And you said there were 3 different, like the map that I'm looking at, they had proposed like multiple, and it's all been looked at, vetted, Ryan, Susan, everyone. We like this one, like it makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
Why were there 3 of them?
Started off just the first one, then you go through that and we have changes. We didn't even bring that to Ryan and Susan. That was Melanie and myself before we brought the second one to them.
Oh,
And
so
then-
it wasn't 3 different plans, it was just iterations of the same plan?
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Even the second one was kind of overdone. It was more excessive with signs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we limited it down. We added one, actually right out here, which there was one there before, so we added that one. and then eliminated maybe a couple other ones, so it kind of, you know, yeah, kind of just dwindled itself down to one final.
All right,
But
thanks.
Thank
All right, so that takes us to item E.
E and F. If you don't mind, I'd like to do F first and then E.
Sorry, just laughing at our agenda. We're just moving everything around. Sure, let's start with F.
So the first capital improvement request is to finish up the pool wireless bridge network and wireless access points that are out there. That will be the last of the old infrastructure that we have in place, and everything will be migrated over to the Fortinet infrastructure going forward. Yes, the cost came in at $17,512.54. I added a little bit of a contingency of 15%, bringing it up to $17,512.54. I really don't expect to need that contingency, but I always put it in there in case something comes up that was not spec'd out or recognized at the time. Be two payments, the initial payment of $7,613.77, and the final payment when the project is complete. So again, this is going to replace the old infrastructure that we had for wireless network and bridges up at the pool and park area. And once that's complete, the old infrastructure will be all gone and probably all on new. Any questions on that one?
Who's the user? I'm very ignorant. I don't know what a wireless bridge is. Is it the community,
Wireless-
just anybody, or is it township employees are using it? Like, who's using the?
The wireless
Wireless, yeah.
network up in the pool and park area is for both public and private.
Okay.
So as employees working in the area, they would have access to that wireless network, and the public would they have access to it, so we're just replacing what's there to continue that. And then there's a wireless bridge which connects the playground area through the pool network over there. So that is just a wireless bridge between those 2 points, and then there's an access point and camera over there.
Yeah, and this network does support several of our security cameras as well, for
As far as I know, yes. So that would be just upgrading everything to the new infrastructure.
All right, any other questions?
No.
All right, I guess item E.
Okay. The reason I asked to do that is because there's gonna be some funds left in that 20,000 that we had in the other project, and this just recently came up. The Hampton Athletic Association and Hampton Soccer Association, or whatever their initial stands for, club, I guess. They want to, they want to put in a POS system, point of sale. And to do that, they need a network. I know that it's been brought to my attention in the past of how we could do this. I do not want to put them on the township's network, simply because since it is a point of sale system, that just more regulations and stuff that we have to deal with as far as training and stuff like this. So I proposed to Ryan that we just put in a cellular wireless access unit there. It'll give them internet access to do what they need to do. They'll also be able to expand upon that as they need to in the future. but we're just gonna provide the cellular unit and Wi-Fi or network capabilities. And we'll take care of that. Anything beyond that will be up to those associations to handle. So when they get their point of sale system, they can come to us, we'll help them get it connected to the unit, but after that, it's, the rest of it's on them. Whatever PCI compliances and things that they have to deal with, that's on them, not the township.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yes. I also recommended in there that, since they will be using it in that fashion, that they do not give it public access and limit it to only things like trainings and stuff that they have full control over for that reason.
So with this system, is it if one of the organizations, so they have to get a point of sale system, like they can't get like, they can't use Square or Venmo or something like that, they would have to get something else? Like what do they need to get in order to,
Well, they would need to decide on how they want to sell their products.
okay,
So if, similar to what we have at the concession stand down at the pool, we have a POS system there. We built, there's screens that were built for the employees, they just press the buttons like at McDonald's, and it totals and everything. They could have something elaborate like that, or they could have something very simple where they have a sign and they just put the information into, they just take whatever that cost is for that and they punch it into the credit card machine. The person uses their credit card to purchase it.
I guess I'm trying to get an idea of what the organizations would need to purchase in order to make it, in order for them to function. Do you know what I mean? Like, when the HAA was first, talking about this, they were talking about, getting some type of internet access so we can do like a Venmo from there, or being able to use the Square, so buying some type of phone and then using Square. But I don't know if there's a different system that they would have to look at in order to purchase, in order to be able to use it, because those things, because there's so much turnover, different volunteers are in there every night. Obviously, what you're saying is we don't want to give every one of those access to the system or the internet there.
And speaking with both gentlemen that I spoke to, it sounds like they're looking for a system that they can basically leave locked inside the concession stand, so that whoever comes in to run the operation will be able to then use the system for that event, and then it'll be locked when everything's done.
So, okay. So it would have to be a specific type of system like that,
I
right?
would think so.
Yeah, okay.
I really didn't get into the details of all that. Basically, I was just providing them with the ability to get internet access and be able to connect through a Wi-Fi connection or through a wired connection, depending on the type of system they go with.
Okay.
We also talked about, the one gentleman at the ball fields, he's investigating tying the scoreboards and stuff into that wireless network so that they can, I guess, control them better than what they have now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, right now they just use, well, it's an app on your phone, essentially, but
Yeah.
because service kind of stinks sometimes not everybody can use it.
So we talked about that, and depending on the location, how far, things like that, I said it's probably doable, but we'd have to do a little more investigations to make that work. And he has to find out if the system even has that capability at this point. The other location at the soccer fields, they want to be able to do training videos and stuff, so they want to be able to use that to have a screen where they bring the soccer players in, I guess, to review other games and other things that they're doing as part of their practice.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they will come up with other things they want to do down the road. So this should give them a lot of flexibility in that.
So right now, we can't, there's there's Wi-Fi at the pool, right?
Yes.
In
Yeah.
the playground?
Right.
The pool, the playground,
Right.
but it doesn't extend to the fields, correct?
And I really, because of what they want to do there with the POS, point of sale system, I don't think it's in our best interest to get involved in that part of it, because then you're dealing with transactions and things. If it's on our network, then we have some responsibility for managing that. So this would completely eliminate them from
Sure.
touching our infrastructure.
Okay. I mean, I get that. Okay.
He was dealing with, Mr. Zeck, he was dealing with Mitch at HAA and then Chris Andrews at the soccer club. So that's who he was carrying on these discussions with. So you may want to speak with Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch is new.
Mitch
Yeah.
seemed to have like a plan at least. I mean, from the
Yeah.
discussions we had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, I don't expect it to, the cost of what I received from INS is $2,010. I put a 20% contingency of $24,12. If we need to add any type of external antennas or anything, that we had some flexibility in that cost. And that all would be within our $20,000 capital improvement budget for both projects.
All right, any other questions? All right, thanks, Rich. G.
Yes. The township currently has an agreement with the Hampton Athletic Association, giving them exclusive rights to the use of the McCully baseball fields in exchange for a financial contribution for the maintenance of those fields and the electrical costs associated with the lights. Through the end of this year, our current agreement expires at the end of 2025. The agreement before you this month's a 5-year extension of that arrangement with a few minor changes. The outgoing president, Josh DeMasi, wanted to have this completed before his term expired this year. The language in the agreement was basically brought up to the standards of what we're doing now, and it mirrors a lot of the language in the soccer agreement with regard to seasonal use, field use permits, things like that. The major changes that you see, though, there's a 3% yearly increase in the financial contribution versus the current 5-year increase. There's a provision to allow for proportional reduction in the financial contribution if we would ever upgrade the field lights to LEDs. And there was a removal of requirement for a youth camp. I can tell you in talking with both HAA and the Hampton Soccer Club, those youth camps sound really nice. They are very difficult to put on, and my understanding is they get very, very little in terms of participation. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that youth sports nowadays start so much younger than when I was a kid. So overall, that's pretty much the agreement in a nutshell. Other than that, I'm here for any questions on it.
I just had questions about the lights.
Yes.
So item B talks about the lights being on controls and timers that the township will set. But then item C says that the HAA shall turn off the lights of the complex by 11 p.m. And then the next one talks about 2 people being responsible for turning off the lights. But if the lights are on a timer, why?
The timer's been known to be adjusted. The timer has been known to be adjusted.
Timer's crap.
Yeah, the
Okay.
timer has been known to be,
All right, so we have a timer,
Yeah.
but if it doesn't work, we have people responsible
There's
for
a-
turning off the lights.
And then, when you have like spring forward, fall ahead,
yeah,
so that messes up the timer.
yeah, yes.
And then it's on a roll. The lights are on a rolling timer because they don't all come on at the same time, nor should they?
Because that would be too much of a power draw.
So,
agree.
yeah, and I will tell you, those in charge of the lights will only turn them on when it's dark and the lights haven't come back.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Other than that, I don't have any additional questions. Anyone else?
No.
All right, then I guess we are moving on
Okay.
to.
Yes,
H.
Meadowfield, yes. The 2025 capital improvement plan includes a $50,000 allotment for the design of a synthetic turf surface at Meadowfield. Given the fact Meadow is our only multi-purpose field, it's pretty much used by every single youth sports association in this township, sans basketball probably. It makes the most sense if we were to undertake an upgrade to a synthetic turf project, or a field to a synthetic turf, Meadow would be the best candidate for it. Undertaking the design of this now gives us it's going to let us grasp the full cost and scope of the project and help us to prepare for future grant applications. Given that the most important portion of this project is stormwater management, since synthetic turf is impervious, PVE is the appropriate firm to undertake this project. They recently completed a similar artificial turf project at Pitt Bradford and also at Seton Hill University. I have a high degree of confidence in their ability, especially just given the stormwater management in that area with the trail that has gone in. I think they can help us solve a lot of problems there. There might be some minor design work and permitting that would need to be completed after this, but I think this contract should get us close to pretty much 95% of design. Beginning the process now also allows us to engage these sports associations about sort of what they would like to see at Meadowfield. So with that, I recommend award of a contract to PVE in the amount of $50,000 for design of synthetic turf at Meadowfield.
Any questions?
So it's $50,000 for the design of the field?
Yes. I figured it would be, bear in mind, the project, I would say this, the overall project to turf that field, the estimates that Gateway put together several years ago was over $1 million.
It was.
Yeah, it was well
It's like
over.
1.3 or 1.4, something like this.
Yeah, so, the idea I had coming into this year is, let's budget something to get some design done so that we can get a full handle on the scope of the project and what it's going to cost us. And, as I approached PVE, I said, show me how far you can get us for $50,000. And this pretty much gets us almost all the way.
So, sorry, just remind me why we wouldn't put something like this out to bid? Like, why wouldn't we ask multiple designers of athletic fields to bid on this, and we would just default to PVE for $50,000?
Well, the majority of this work is civil in site in nature. It's not really specifically the synthetic turf design. There's nothing really special about it. It's almost the most important portion of this, and really where it's going to cost you time and money is on the stormwater side. The actual if this project were to go to construction, the actual cost to lay field turf is probably only several $100,000. The infrastructure you're going to have to install to manage the stormwater and grade the site properly, that's going to be closer to $1 million right there. Honestly, the only two firms that I'm aware of that you would really want to use for this would be either Gateway or PVE. Gateway has done several other projects. I'd actually worked with Gateway previously on a turfing project. I think the stormwater element of it really makes PVE the most appropriate firm for this, and they do have recent history with these types of projects as well. When we go to formally bid construction of the project, believe me, that will be when we're probably trying to spec it so that we get certain contractors who have a history of installing synthetic turf.
So construction goes out to bid in
Yes,
essence.
and we already have an existing contract with PVE. Again, I think your two options here are Gateway and PVE. I would recommend PVE personally.
Okay, and it's for the stormwater management
Yeah.
component, and then And then if I recall right, like there was, I'm assuming this is minor to the project, but I really don't know that much when it comes to design and construction. Like we wanted to make sure that that field was, there were lights on that field.
Yes, that's not really something that's going to be, we can do that sort of outside of designing it. We could just work directly
Okay.
with the contractor. We obviously struck out on our grant application. We're probably going to reapply.
Okay,
So
all right.
the lighting design
Thank you.
plan is not part of this design
No,
plan?
no, but the plan that was put together by Musco has been shared with PVE, so they'll at least know where
Okay.
the poles are going, but their actual impact on the design of this is negligible.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, next item.
Okay, right now, as it currently exists, both Hampton and Shaler have an informal agreement that allows season pass holders at each community's pool to use the other community's pool during instances of either contamination or mechanical failure. Shaler actually suggested this to us several years ago when their pool was down for a few days, and we at Hampton, we took advantage of it last year when we had both a contamination and one of the pool pumps going down. I believe it was in June. Melanie Martino and Bill Ryder had approached us. They wanted to get something formal in writing on this agreement, and they helped develop the memorandum of understanding that's before you this month. It allows season pass holders at either pool, in the event of mechanical failure or biological contamination, to use the other community's pool for a period of up to 5 consecutive days. There's arrangements for notification and assignment of appropriate staff to make sure there's levels of communication between the two communities. Daily pass users are not covered by this agreement. They still have to pay the non-resident rate if they were using the other community's pool. The MOU was reviewed by legal counsel. The manager of Shaler has given me his blessing on it. It protects the season pass holders at both communities, and I would recommend it for approval.
Any questions?
Did we draft this document, or did they draft this document?
We drafted this document.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are their opening and closing dates the same as ours?
To my
At least
understanding.
close enough?
Yeah, they're actually the actual opening of the pool, I think, is a half an hour after ours for some reason. But the opening and closing, the reason that you see language in there that says not in case of staffing shortages. Several years ago, there were staffing shortages, and they ended up sending all their season pass holders here for, I believe it was a 2-week period, and I think Bill Ryder's sanity was pushed to its limit that day, those weeks. But yeah, that was specific in there. That was something Bill had actually called out when we started these discussions. So, yeah.
So this also does not include, we close our pool the second weekend every summer for the swim meet. And so
This
this
would
does
not,
not
no.
include, this does not allow our residents to go to Shaler, or if they close for a swim meet, for their folks to come here.
No, because that would be planned.
Okay.
And, you know, this is sort of to cover emergencies and contingencies like that.
Any questions? All right.
I'm done. Yeah.
Road program.
This year's program includes 15 roads, totaling 4.3 miles, which are contracts A and B in the bid specs. It calls for 2-inch mill and 2-inch overlay with a wearing course, and we are going to use the 4-to-fiber mix again this year. Contract C in the bid specs has been included at the school district's request. They would like to pave their parking lots at the middle school. The bid opening is scheduled for next Tuesday, the 18th, with possible award at your February 26th meeting. We're hoping to begin this year's paving program late May, early June. Whenever the paving company, our Public Works, will be ready with all of their storm sewers. They're about a year ahead with all the storm sewer replacements. We have received, as Ryan mentioned in one of the administrative reports, numerous requests from residents on Henrich Farm Lane. Their road is severely heaving because of the cold temperatures. Like, you'd be shocked to see it. It's very, very bad. It's not included on the 26. It was originally included on the 27 program. We're really going to try to move some roads around so that we can include it in next year's paving program, but we cannot include it in this year's. They wanted it included in this year's. It's just not possible. So, but we'll try everything we can to add it next year's. So, any questions? What do we can? It's bad.
All right, no questions, anyone?
It's settling down a little bit.
It's, yeah, next week it'll get bad again
Yeah.
because the temperatures are in the teens.
Yeah, won't be as long, won't be as bad.
No.
All right, next item, please.
Okay, next item is a request to purchase a hot seat pressure washer. This piece of equipment, the current one is approximately 15 years old, and it is definitely showing its age. This equipment is used in the community park restrooms, cleaning the pavilions, the public works vehicles. It'll be used down at the new Wildwood Sample flood mitigation pier and pavilion, as well as any other heavy cleaning that the township needs. The capital improvement budget has allotted at $6,000. I've attached a quote from Cleaning Systems in the amount of $5,852,000. I'm requesting an expenditure not to exceed $6,000 for the purchase of the pressure washer, just in case they have to purchase some equipment to go with it, some minor supplies.
All right, any questions?
Next
Right.
next
Oh,
item.
yeah, we do still have one
Yeah.
more.
The next item is the township border welcome signs. As you know, on connector roads, we have those blue and white welcome to Hampton signs. There's a number of connector roads that never had the newer signs. The ones with the soccer balls are probably early 2000s when they were installed. Like South Montour, East Elfin Wild, North Pioneer, Cedar Ridge, Wagner Road. We would like to install those signs on those roads, and some of the blue and white signs that we have, they are showing their age as well. So we would like to replace some of those. I'm requesting at the regular meeting authorization to purchase these signs at $8,500. Blue Fire Signs is a Hampton business, so we will be purchasing them through there.
All right, any questions?
That was 8,500 total or per sign?
8,500 total for
Okay.
the 10 signs.
Boy,
Just feel like we spent a lot of
Just
money.
asking.
Total.
So nobody's requesting any more money for the rest of the year, we're just doing it all now?
That sounds like
Is
it
that what's
doesn't.
happening?
Get it all done.
Nice try.
Yeah, I vaguely remember something about concrete repairs at a few different places.
you already authorized that one.
All right, anything else for community services? All right,
Thank you.
environmental services,
Thank you. Brian,
and
will you
you're
fill
gonna
the first
outdo
one?
the others now.
Yeah, well, actually, this first one you're gonna make money on.
Oh.
We should have started with that.
Yeah, the Allison, and Jim and I are gonna kind of triage this one, the Allison Park Industrial Complex had approached Jim and Rob Horvat last year about tapping into our sewer system. They're currently, Amanda, I don't know if you can pull up the properties. They're currently serviced by a small package plant that is, it's seen better days. It's probably out of good repair at this point. The Allison Park Industrial Complex, it is 5 different parcels, just so everyone's aware. 4 of them are in Hampton. That's the actual industrial portion of the property. And then there is an out retail parcel, strip retail parcel, that is actually located in Shaler. Initially, the Allison Park Industrial Complex had approached Shaler about tapping into their system and subsequently Alcosan. They ran into problems with having to cross a railroad line that just made it impossible for them to move forward with. So they ended up approaching Jim and Rob. Typically how this would work, and the agreement we've kind of come up with mirrors what you would see for a new development. The difference being a new development would have already worked its way through the land development process, and you'd have everything kind of laid out. But the Allison Park Industrial Complex, in fairness to them, wanted to at least have an agreement allowing them to tap in to the township sewer system. So as part of this project, 99% of the cost is on the Allison Park Industrial Complex. They're doing all of the actual physical construction work. They're going to be installing a pump station on their property, which they would own and maintain, to pump sewage up. There'll be a grease trap installed, and they're redoing all the laterals throughout the property. When we work through design on this, and I'm going to get up, and Ms. Blackburn, I apologize, you're not going to be able to see this, but there's an existing manhole right here. They being the Allison Park Industrial Complex, could tie the force main directly into this existing manhole. Jim came up with, he first saw problems with this, and I'd agree with him, and KLH agrees with him as well. There is a high-pressure gas line that runs right through this area right here, and should there ever need to be repairs on that gas line, if there's a one call, they would identify a public sewer line, but they're not going to identify a private sewer line. And what's worse is it'd be a force main that's under pressure. So if it was ever hit, you're really going to have a problem. Jim recommended we do about 100 to 150 foot extension of the public sewer down to here, so that, again, we cross that line with our public line. If there's ever a problem or anything, it would be identified properly, and hopefully we wouldn't have any issues. But we've done an analysis on the impact of this on our sewer system. It would essentially be 6 equivalent dwelling units, which would charge a tap-in fee of $5,000, a little over $5,000 per dwelling unit. So the tap-in fee would be about $32,000 for this property. On an ongoing basis, annually, the sewage cost would probably be, with our current billing, and HSWA has confirmed this, about $3,500 to $4,000 annually. The biggest benefit of this, and Jim, this is where you can really chime in, the biggest benefit of this is you're taking an area where there probably is not the best sewage treatment ever and tapping it into our sewer treatment plant system, which is brand new and far better. And if you want to talk a little bit, Jim, about our MS4 and
Sure.
even what you saw down there when you were down there with Rob.
First off, the system is fairly old and antiquated, and they have been known to have issues. They do have a NPDES permit to discharge into Pine Creek. And again, they have had issues at that site, so we know it's not a good system by any stretch. This is also beneficial to us, I believe. If you recall, a number of years ago, the township, along with other municipalities in the watershed, have had a TMDL for fecal coliform in the area, where the EPA has told us that we have to make improvements. We believe that this is certainly an improvement for the watershed as a whole. So by eliminating their system away and putting it into ours, it will definitely have a benefit for the overall watershed. So there's that benefit that, that we can take credit for.
Yeah. And there will be ongoing maintenance of this. There's a maintenance agreement that's an appendix to this developer's agreement that will be executed after design of this is completed and before we accepted the public improvements from them, which is that 100 to 150 foot extension. They've been a very good partner throughout this process, I would say. I think, Jim, you and I were able to sit down and kind of pound out the agreement with them, obviously with the help of legal counsel and their legal counsel as well. So, that's what's before you. I don't know if there's any questions on it or anything ongoing.
Township's paying for the 150 extension.
Only the design of it. They're paying for construction
The
of
actual
it.
construction they're paying for.
Yeah.
So they're currently discharging into the creek?
With under permit through their
Right,
system
and
that
that
they
would
have.
cease.
That is
completely.
correct. They'll change that former system into a new pump system and have that as a force main throughout their property, under Pine Creek and up the hillside into our gravity system at that point.
We've made Shaler Township aware that we would be taking one of the parcels in their township to sewage. There's been no objection to that. They've been aware of this process the whole time.
Is there any risk you know, with them, you said there's a maintenance agreement. Is there any risk to them operating that pump station? If something goes bad, we cannot intervene in any way?
It's the county health department's responsibility at that point.
Yeah.
It's all private. It's private until it makes connection with our system off of Cleveland Street.
The parcel that's in Shaler
Yes.
would not be doing Hampton Water? Or are they?
They are currently, we were able
They
to,
are-
yeah, we were able to double check the actual amount of water usage with Hampton Shaler Water Authority so that, you know, we
Okay.
were make sure that our billing would be correct. Yeah,
That's how the taps were calculated.
yeah,
Yeah, I guess it's all the same water authority, isn't it?
yeah,
Oh, well.
yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, change orders.
Yes, we have 3 change orders, change orders 6, 7, and 8, that total $174,949. And I believe that information has been disseminated. And then thirdly, the emergency sanitary sewer work off of Wickline Road. Approximately 2 weeks ago, it was brought to our attention that we had a sanitary sewer line off of Wickline Road that was severely exposed. And upon additional investigation, we found that that pipe was actually shifted. It is a plastic line, simply laying in the creek bed. It's only going to take a sizable storm before that plastic pipe could break. In addition to that, throughout that investigation, we discovered that we also had a 12-inch asbestos clay line that was actually risen up out of the creek bed and leaking. So with those two scenarios, there's a couple photos here. This is the larger photo directly off of Wickline Road near the bridge on that sharp turn at the bottom. If you can see it through the tree, there's a line there. It's actually supposed to be several feet lower than it is. It literally, through sedimentation being eroded over time, that pipe has actually lifted itself up and out, and it is leaking. And then this is the line. You can see it's actually bent pretty substantially in the creek bed. What we have done, we have worked with engineering, and we are proposing an emergency repair to these 2 locations. We have filed an emergency permit with the DEP for proper access into the Crouse Run locations for repair. We surprisingly have actually received the permit back from the DEP already.
Yeah.
Nobody can understand how quickly that happened, but it did. We actually have permit in hand. Engineering is also working on obtaining 3 quotes simply to move some form of number together as quickly as we can. They have met with 3 contractors, and we are waiting to hear back what those numbers will actually be, hopefully within the next week or 2.
Yeah, and just as a follow-up, in my memo, things have changed a little bit, obviously. I did not expect to get that permit that quickly.
Yeah.
In the memo that I had sent to council, I had said requesting the authorization of release of $150 of the $250,000 that is budgeted in the capital improvement program for sanitary sewer rehabilitation. And that number may change between now and the next council meeting based on the quotes. What I would like to do, though, is I'd also mentioned in there, I was planning on using the emergency purchasing powers that are defined in our purchasing manual to undertake the repair of these sanitary sewer lines as quickly as possible. They can be used when a delay in purchasing represents a threat to health, safety, or welfare of the residents. I think raw sewage leaking into the creek probably qualifies as that. So depending on what those bids come back at, I was going to authorize the award of the bid and immediately to proceed with the work. I will report to the council president and the controller, but I will also make sure the rest of council is aware of well as that number. And then what we would do at the next meeting on February 26th is just ratifying the actions of the manager and taking using emergency powers to repair the Wickline Road sewer. I don't know if there's any objection to that. The numbers have come in lower than I expected, or at least the estimates, I shouldn't say the numbers, but the estimates from KLH are lower than I expected. Good.
No objections, yeah, get it done.
Okay.
Right.
All right, anybody have any questions about item C? All right, before we go on though, we did kind of gloss over the change orders.
Yes.
So can we go into more detail on the change orders to see if anybody has any questions about those?
Yes. Yes, we certainly can. The two change orders, 7 and 8, I mean, 7 is the Duquesne Light change order, Jim. That's, what's that?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, that's the one, it's 20,000, it's a little less than $21,000, 20,932. There was exploratory excavation that was required by Duquesne Light prior to setting the poles, when they were relocated, for the new, treatment plant. That cost is borne by the township. There is also, change order number 6 was, oh God, what one was that? That was
for the security camera installation.
yeah, that was the security camera installation. That's actually running the electrical to the security cameras. We already purchased the security cameras through D'Agostino. That was $142,000. $142,178 to cover the cost of running all of the electrical to those. There will be a subsequent change order from Callista for running the electrical to the Wi-Fi. I believe that one is still outstanding. They haven't produced that one yet. The final one, change order number 8, is actually, it was a litany of change orders, actually. It was a bunch of small things, as well as the digester project as well. We actually had an allowance of over $100,000 from Callista.
Correct.
That we applied to this change order that actually caused it to be substantially lowered. The total amount of it's $11,839. But yeah, it covers the electrical installation and cabling for the security access door, as well as a litany of other associated smaller change orders. And there were things just during startup that I know that were run into that we had an allowance for, and we had decided to apply it here. So.
All right, does anyone have any questions about the 3 different change orders? All right, doesn't sound like it. So, anything else for environmental services?
I have nothing else unless anybody has a question.
All right, zoning and planning, please.
Okay, the first item is the enactment of an ordinance related to the takeover of the sanitary sewer system for the Four Seasons development. Since our last meeting, KLH did complete the review of the as-bills. All the testing has been done, so they are recommending that we approve the enactment ordinance at this month's meeting.
Any questions?
Okay, and the next one is a similar takeover request for sanitary sewer extension on Wagner Road. That has been reviewed by KLH. They're as well recommending approval, and everything for that is squared away as well.
All right, any questions?
And I do have one additional item, if I could. And I apologize, this is my fault, I left this off of my memo to Susan with the items. But as a part of the Four Seasons takeover of the sanitary, the developer has requested the release of the corresponding funds out of their developer's security. So we had that reviewed by Gateway. Since KLH is signing off on that, Gateway is recommending the approval of those funds just earmarked for the sanitary sewer system. So that comes to a little over $136,000. So I will be recommending the approval of that at your next meeting, and we will have it on the agenda.
All right, any questions? All right, anything else?
That's all.
Thank you for not asking us to spend money.
Always happy to do my part.
All right, any other business?
No.
Anyone else? All right, then we will adjourn to an executive session at which no further decisions will be made. Thank you, everyone, for coming this evening.